Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Midas Letter RAW. I am here with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Edward Molesky, special head himself. Woo! Woo! Woo!
Hi James, how you doing? Nice to be back.
Good to see you again. How's your winter drive out to the country here?
It was very, very smooth. I think about an hour and a half,
Yeah.
moving right through.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. We have two guests today. Mr. Jim Albertelli, CEO, joins us from Voxtur Analytics Corp. Our sponsor, full disclosure, we make money if this company's stock goes up past $1.15. We are therefore conflicted, and anything we say about Voxtur should be considered in the context of advertising. We are not to be trusted. Also joining us today is Ofer Asif. He is the Senior Vice President of SpaceCom, which trades on the OTC under the symbol SPMMF and trades on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange under the symbol SCC. Now, Ofer is, SpaceCom runs a bunch of satellites in space, obviously, and they are part and parcel. They did a deal with our other client, NuRAN Wireless, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol NUR. Full disclosure, we have an option on it's 250,000 shares at $1.70. We have a remarkable show, an utterly fascinating lineup. A scintillating conversation lies directly ahead for you, the audience, and your viewing pleasure. If you're enjoying the show, subscribe to Midas Letter on YouTube so you stay up to date on everything investment. Let's take some audience questions. Igor says, do you think this recent stock market rally is a buy the dip rally?
I don't think it is. I think it already happened.
Yeah. And that question's from earlier this week, obviously.
Oh. Well, you know what? If you
buy the dip rally.
You know, they said that Apple was lagging the S&P by 10% a month ago.
Yeah.
It was a laggard.
Yeah.
Now it's the hottest stock in the universe in a matter of a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all an illusion. Joseph Moss says, can you explain how to use the VIX or fear index to make a trade? Well, that's interesting. You should say that, Joseph. The VIX is one of my most closely observed indicators. In fact, the one I follow is the VIX futures.
Okay.
So it's basically an exact number of the VIX. So when you see the VIX below 20, so 20 is considered, it's kind of like a baseline. Below 20 and things are considered to be stable. Above 20, the more it rises above 20, the more instability. So you see how the market dropped last week, and the VIX reflected that.
Yeah.
So essentially...
So what did it peak at 4 days ago? What did
28.7.
And now where is it? Where is it now?
21? 31.5.
31.5.
Yeah, and now it's 20.8. 20.825.
Wow.
So essentially, I mean, if you're trading large cap, this is a very good barometer of what market sentiment is. And if you're trying to trade market sentiment, this is probably one of the best indicators there are. If you're trying to trade small speculative tech stocks, which is a sort of our bailiwick, it's not really that pertinent.
No.
Except when it's in extreme red territory. Like if it was above 30, then it's a kind of like a buy nothing kind of thing.
The higher that number, the greater the fear level.
For example, let's go back to September 2008. It got to 96.64.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then look at it seems like these vicious bear markets are vicious, but very short-lived. That's the pattern.
Wow, because this...
Well, that wasn't so short-lived. People were nervous for a couple of years.
Well, but this was the advent of large-scale quantitative easing across the entire G7. Like this is when the central banks just started bailing out everybody.
Well, Lehman Brothers and...
Yeah. And if you look at this, there's been a few scares in here.
The
only thing that came close was March 2020. So to get back to the question of the audience member, can you explain how to use the VIX or fear index to trade? Essentially, it's a gauge of sentiment. That's it.
Yeah.
So good time to go short is if it's running up hot. If it's running higher, you might want to go short. If it's dropping below 20, you might want to get long. Okay. Steve Simpson wants to know, copper transfers energy 100%. Why is nobody looking at this commodity? Steve Simpson, let's pull up the chart of copper now. Copper is trading higher than it's in a range that is equal to the highest level it's ever traded in history.
We're within 10% of new high territory.
Yes.
And it seems to be, just digesting that big move we've had since March of 2020.
Yes.
So if it goes through, we may see a monster bull market in copper. Copper could go, I think, to $10.
Right. So to say that nobody is looking at this commodity, Steven Simpson, is not accurate. There are a lot of people following this commodity very closely. Investors in copper mining companies,
Yes.
Companies that use copper in their manufacture of products are watching this price on a day-to-day, minute-by-minute basis. And there's a lot of attention being paid. Participating in copper prices directly through the futures market is not for the average retail investor because copper futures have been made complicated and prohibitive just because the big banks don't want people in the futures market. They want to control it absolutely. All right, moving right along. Ryan on the Vetter. Is that Ryan on the Vetter River? Boy, must have gone through some flooding out there, I would think, Ryan. Anyways, your question pertains to Walker River Resources. Do you still own it?
I don't own any.
I don't own it. Did you own it?
I used to own it.
Did you?
Yeah, I don't think I've owned it for a while.
No, I don't, and I don't think I ever.
That company, I don't know. They're in the hot district, and
I think I traded it for a couple days.
They don't seem to be ever finding any significant gold.
And yet that property has a lot of historic resource on it.
He's got the video, the little thing where the guy's playing the guitar. They're talking about. It's quite
what's going on? We should get him on the show.
Yeah, Michelle David.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trent Belzer wants to know, what are your thoughts on what Elise Coppens said, and do you think she'll turn Agra Ventures around? It's in delisting territory now. Trent, I was impressed with Elise. That was my first time ever talking to her. She has the same first name of my mother, so I love her. What can I say?
Beautiful name.
If anybody can do it, she can.
I always thought that the names that start with E are the best names.
Well, Ed, that's funny you should say that.
What?
You see, you might have a conflict of interest there?
No. Well, I just coincidentally, my name starts with E, but I'm just saying names that start with E. Emily, for instance.
Emily.
Yeah,
Edward.
Well,
Ernest. Execution.
Eduardo.
So, Trent, I think that there's some legal issues outstanding. She's new to the whole story. I think she's got as good a shot at it as anybody, and it might be a buy down here. It could also go a lot lower, but we'll see. It strikes me as interesting that somebody has come in, rolled up their sleeves to pick up this thing from where it's fallen to and is willing to take it on. So based on my conversation, I would not count that lady out from being able to turn this around.
Yeah.
Anthony Zeus says, if you had to pick one company out of Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, or Tesla to buy and hold for the next 10 years, which one would you pick? Oh, boy.
Good question.
That is a great question. Well, I got to say that holding up this laptop, it's kind of, I'm obviously not a Microsoft person, so I think Apple has more likely than Microsoft. Alphabet, the owner of Google, let's just say that I can say with full conviction that Google is not a good corporate citizen, to say the least. So I wouldn't want to own Google. I think they're going to get broken up and heavily regulated. Amazon is kind of like near and dear to my heart. In 1999, I had a company called elgrande.com. We raised $15 million and we were taking on Amazon. The chairman of the New York Stock Exchange actually was about to board our join our board of directors, and we were going to compete head to head with Amazon back in 2000. So Amazon has already beat me once. I'm not going to count. I think Amazon is the one that I would bet on. Tesla, the reason I don't like Tesla is because electric cars are coming out of the woodwork right now, and Tesla's CEO is a promoter. And
Yeah. Interestingly, they said that Tesla is going to sell somewhat just under 1 million cars.
yeah,
Volkswagen selling 11 million.
right. There you go.
And so it's just about valuation. It's not that it's a bad company.
And Volkswagen said that by 2032, all of their 100% of their cars sold are going to be electric. 100%. No gas,
Did you
no
hear
diesel.
what Elon said about he's involved in a company now where they're going to put a chip, start putting chips in brains?
Yeah, I don't really pay too much attention to Elon because
Not potato chips, right?
he's
But
just he's too promotional. Like he's going to sell 1 million cars. I'll bet you that's something they're projecting. I don't believe that anybody's going to get one of those 1 million cars just because they paid for it. I, for one, have been on the waiting list for a Tesla truck for 2 years. That was supposed to be here last year and ain't got it yet. So I don't put a lot of stock in what Elon Musk has to say. Stock. Execution. Well, though you got to hand it to him, he has executed something.
I don't know what company is going to be there, but I think Tesla's too overvalued relative to where it is today.
So which one of these is your pick?
Yeah, I would say probably Microsoft or Amazon.
Microsoft or Amazon. All right. There's your answer, Anthony. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking on the little notifications bell. We are going to talk a little bit about,
How about Apple? How about Apple approaching $3 trillion
and
market cap?
in the context of Apple approaching $3 trillion in market cap, we have this tweet by a gentleman,
Right.
which I shall pull up here in a alternative reality. And this is a tweet by Michael Arouet. Sorry if we're saying that wrong, Michael, but
I think you got that right.
but basically what he's saying, without the 5 biggest NASDAQ stocks, the NASDAQ is down 25% year to date.
That's shocking.
That is shocking.
Think about that.
That's basically the whole of the NASDAQ is being carried on the shoulders of 5 companies. And when you consider consider the quantitative easing globally and how much liquidity that is driven into NASDAQ, it's like these 5 stocks are displaying a bubble of biblical proportions.
And you know, you go back to 2000, same kind of thing happened. All the money got concentrated in a few companies, and that was just before Northern Telecom. Northern Telecom was 1/3 of the Toronto Stock Exchange back then. 1/3.
Jesus Cristo. You say, don't say.
But the point, look, if now Apple sort of got the torch.
Yeah.
Amazon's still a couple $100 from its high. I mean, sure, we've had a big snapback.
Well, they just got hit with that big fine, 1.4 billion or something.
You know. I don't know. It looks.
Well, I mean, really, the
bad
market.
breath, right? Bad breath.
Bad breath.
Bad breath.
Who, me?
I've got bad breath.
Really?
Anyway.
Right now? Fortunately, my nose is stuffed up. I
Good.
can't smell it. Yeah.
Okay.
So this brings us to the larger question, Ed. How close would you say that we are to a general collapse in valuations across major markets?
Well, you know, you watch your indices and watch that NASDAQ and look, if it can't resume to new highs, it'll start backing off here. We've got too many things, like 25, the NASDAQ's down 25% of the year if you take out those 5 companies.
Yeah.
Who's happy?
Nobody.
You know,
Look at
there's pockets.
Here's that chart again. Let's blow it up. Oh, it doesn't resolve very well, thanks to Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, this is the thing with when you see markets starting to act so irrationally, taking some companies higher while other companies are left in the dust. Like, let's talk about Pfizer for a second. So Pfizer came out late last week and said 3 doses of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine was going to be an effectively neutralized, was their language. The CEO of Pfizer said that. Going to effectively neutralize the Omicron variant. So, you know, what happens? The stock drops to $3.
Sure.
Today, Pfizer came out and said that their vaccine had been approved for 15 to 17-year-olds, and the stock is up.
Yeah. Well,
ever so slightly. But this is the thing, like, wouldn't you expect to see?
Yeah. Expect. You know.
Yeah. No. Markets have no.
You know what? You know, one of the big banks in the States said today that they're pretty sure that by the COVID thing is going to have run its course by the end of next year.
Who said that?
I think it was either Morgan Stanley.
Oh, so a banker said that.
Well, they're just saying that, you know, they think that. Look, I'm just repeating. I don't know, but
no, I know, but I mean, coming from a banker, come on, it's like, A, what do they know?
The banker has a PhD in biotech. I know it,
but I mean, the bankers are obviously trying to get people off of their conservative, protectionist mindset that is brought on. That was ice falling on the tent. Yeah, yeah. If we suddenly go offline, there's actually a tree fell down in the windstorm.
A tree fell down.
A tree fell down, and it's dangling above this tent as we speak. We could be dead in minutes.
What's that? The sword of Damocles? Is there something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Dangling, hanging over our heads.
Dangling.
Like a guillotine.
Yeah, but a lot of volatility. You know, you look at the moves are wild. Oil was down to 63, back to 72. Natural gas is 370.
Yeah.
It was 650. Lumber back over 1,000.
Lumber back over 1,000. Yeah, you want to talk about a bee in my bonnet? I mean, talk about.
What are you waiting for?
I know.
Said, come and take me at 600, 700. We talked. We said if it goes over this,
I'm going to buy lumber. And did I? No. What did I do? I put another 100+ K into the market today. I bought GMG. I bought GMG at $5.85.
I sold it lower and bought it higher.
I didn't sell it low. I sold it lower and bought it higher. Exactly.
There you go.
But the lot I sold, I bought much lower than that. Now I'm buying it again.
Yeah.
But based on their press release about they had commissioned their pilot battery plant in Australia, which is not the Robert Bosch plant that they announced, which is their commercial plant. But this is a step in that direction. So I bought it.
They seem to be, what's the word when management carries out what they're supposed to do? They seem to be
executing.
That's the word.
Which it's not a surprise that you forget that word, because quite often management teams.
You mentioned guillotine earlier,
right?
Execution.
Oh,
I'm nervous.
Speaking of execution, did you know that it's illegal in Canada for brokerage firms to participate and pay for order flow?
I don't know what's right or what's real, what isn't real.
Bring out the guillotine. I know. And execution. Talk about management teams executing. Great Bear Resources announced today, rather late yesterday, that they had sold themselves to Kinross for $29 a share.
Jimmy Doyle's old deal.
And Jimmy Doyle brought it to us. He was in our office pitching us on this at 25 cents a share.
What, did they have a massive deposit?
I think they had a huge deposit.
Who backed them? Who was their main backer?
Jimmy Doyle.
No, but he ain't backing them anymore. No offense, Jimmy.
No, Jimmy, our good friend, passed away last year.
I spent several weekends at his place in
Perry Sound near us.
No, not that direction.
Up that direct. I thought it was up in the house. So Highway 6. He told me it was off of Highway 6.
There's a lake up there.
Anyways, I just wanted to mention
Joseph?
that as a ode to Jimmy Doyle, because he brought me this deal. Had I listened to Jimmy Doyle in 2018, well, and assuming I would have hung on to the stock to $29, which is definitely not in my DNA.
Getting bought out by Kinross. How many shares in this thing? What was the total?
Jesus Christ, Ed, you fed me with all these questions. I just read the press release. I don't know.
All right.
But, and I didn't own it. So obviously I don't follow that closely the details in the companies I don't own. So, but anyways, my point being that companies executing on their business plans. GMG, definitely one of them. Great Bear Resources, another one of them. Voxtur Analytics is another one of them, and there's the Voxtur chart.
Wow.
And rather than me, who am conflicted by owning shares and also having an option on this company.
We should hear from the CEO, maybe.
Let's hear from the CEO. Here's Jim Albertelli to join us right now. Jim Albertelli, CEO of Voxtur Analytics, is back. Voxtur trades on the TSX Venture under the symbol VXTR and in the United States under the symbol VXTRF. Jim, welcome back.
Hey, good to be back. I'm great to see you.
You bet. Jim, congratulations on a blowout, stellar quarter again, 400% revenue year on year. That's just incredible. Blew all analysts' expectations out of the water. The stock didn't really pop as much as we thought it would. What's holding it back?
You know what? Look, I'm smiling now. It's the holiday season. I want to tell that to all the listeners. Happy holidays. But you know what? we scratch our heads when we see that. We see that we've maintained, and again, we've grown substantially quarter over quarter, year over year. We expect the same to continue. And we feel like it's a little like because of the nature of the exchange we're on. And maybe it was because it happened around the same time as people had that initial scare around Omicron. And there was a little, will Omicron be this? Will it be that? We turned out, it'll be transmittable, but it's not going to be anything major, and we should move on with our lives. So I think some of that was, just people being focused on other places. Some of it is the nature of the TSXV, V for venture, and I think ultimately we're going to need to make certain moves and move to another exchange to really get the full value. And I think the shareholders, though, are in a fantastic place. They're going to see triple-digit growth continue, and they're going to be part of that story.
Jim, since this is likely our last conversation in 2021, let's recap 2021 because now you guys have closed. It's a total of 4 acquisitions this year, most predominantly, and the first one of the year was ANOW, but also now Biome, Benutech, and what was the other one? Zome, that's right. So now tell me how all of those tie together into the master ecosystem.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that's a great place to start and to think about over the course of what we've accomplished this year. We talked about our thesis around acquisition, and Gary talks about it. He talks about it's going to be prop tech. He talks about it having positive EBITDA. He talks about it having tremendous upside growth potential. He talks about it being synergistic. So when you look at each one of those things, you unpack it. You say, okay, let's talk about ANOW. And what does ANOW mean? ANOW was the culmination and transformation of our digital platform to connect lenders directly to appraisers, to create a digital pipeline. So, and if you think about it, if you look back at what we spent and you think about today and you go into our financials, you'll see that it's tracking just this year alone. While it's tracking at 600,000+ in EBITDA monthly, and it's just loaded its first major client. So we took it from the acquisition thesis had some positive EBIT, was accretive, was prop tech. We added to the system. We put all of our infrastructure behind it, all of our what I call corporate rigor. We took something like that, and already it's poised to do with one client over $7 million in EBIT next year. Pretty fantastic, pretty amazing. Turns out to be a bargain. Second thing we did is, and that builds out part of our digital pipeline into lenders and servicers. And that was key to us to be able to have that data pipe because data is Voxtur's currency, and we provide data as a service. The next piece you could look at is the Zome acquisition. Again, people look at that and go, oh, wow, it kind of feels like a tech-enabled service. Where's the technology? A couple places. One, well, first, it's a relationship with the top 5 mortgage servicer in the United States of America. So it kind of put us on the map that we could do deals with the big boys and we could make something really happen. The second thing was it is a tech-enabled service, but it brought with it the ability to now layer our technology in and replace its current technology with the ANOW, with the digital platform to make us more efficient and effective. So we knew we had additional profit opportunity. The third thing that it brought to us was all of the MLS data. So through the deal, we captured a huge data asset. So while it was good on all fours, positive EBIT, prop tech expansion opportunity, relationship with the top 4 lender, it brought a data asset, which we thought was phenomenal. So really rounding out now our proprietary data that we already had in our data mesh architecture, but adding another huge pipe that can provide additional value to all of our services, tax services, title settlement services, and valuation services. So building out the data asset. When you look forward and you look at Benutech, same kind of concept. You got positive EBIT. You've got its technology that's in lead gen for lenders and for mortgage brokers. Well, wouldn't that be very important if the rates go up and there are fewer transactions? Wouldn't you want to be able to give your clients, the lenders, some special sauce that would make all the other things more interesting? So it's software as a service, it's data mining, data technology, but then it came with a complete CoreLogic data file. So now you're looking at the ability for us to repurpose the world of data. Like that's why Gary and I say, we started with some great proprietary information with good underpinnings. Default technology that's been dormant this whole year. So for the listeners, that's going to start to take off at the end of Q1 of next year with the moratorium being lifted. Don't forget that's out there. But we came to the party with default technology, with title technologies, with tax technologies, with valuation technologies. We've enhanced every asset, and we built one of the largest data stores in North America. Those two things we've accomplished at the same time, giving triple-digit growth, at the same time building the talent on our team. We recently brought in Ali and Yu, who was the Chief Technology Officer over at Mr. Cooper, formerly Nation Star Mortgage and Solution Star. We brought him in. He's run international teams. His background is as a product guy at IBM. So, depth of expertise in architecture and really looking at all of our product lines to glean even more efficiencies across the organization. So, as well as help us evaluate other acquisition targets that we're considering. So I think you start at the beginning. What were we at the beginning of the year, even before my deal? 10 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents. You look at where we end the year at over 500 million in market cap, over $1. You look at us with just on a flat line going through Q4 in the mid 90s. We predicted 90 million top line revenue, triple digit growth. We acquired the largest data asset. All those data assets are essential twine to a cord that connects a tangible real property asset to the digital world. And we built all of that, and we've assembled a team, and we built scale, and we deployed one of the largest mortgage clients in the space, all in 2021. So that should give you an idea of what is Voxtur about. Voxtur, for us, data is currency. 2, the data as a service, and they're delivering that service. 3, they're going to continue to grow the data as a service. The margins are going to continue to expand. 4, they're going to give you triple-digit top-line revenue growth from 2021 to 2022. They're going to continue to build their data store and their data architecture to deliver seamless, solutions. Really looking at what are the questions, and we just deliver the answer. We don't give you the question. You already know the question. We just give you the answer, and we do it in an elegant way. And those are all the things that Voxtur is doing to make home ownership more transparent and more affordable. That's what Voxtur does. Voxtur is a service to make home ownership more affordable and more transparent, and that's where we're at.
Beautiful. So, as an investor, the question on a lot of minds is, in 2022, is the company going to continue to dilute its shareholders through continuous acquisitions using the company's stock as currency? Yeah.
So, look, you're looking at the guy with the largest shareholders, right? At 23% on the total shares, and I'll tell you this: I don't like being diluted. Okay, I like my position, and I don't want to be diluted in the company either. And so when I do it, I really do it thoughtfully. If I'm, it's always that piece of, do we want to be a smaller piece of a much bigger pie? Net, we're ahead, right? Net, we've diluted, but we've added much more value than our dilution. And so where it makes sense, very sparingly, but where it makes sense, we'll do that. We're really looking at using some other financing mechanisms. We have a fantastic partner in BMO Harris. I mean, look, these guys invest with us. They're our banking partner. They've ridden all along with us. So I would expect that there's going to be more debt raised to do more acquisitions. So I think the acquisitions are going to be more debt, and I expect that that's going to change into 2023, so less dilution. But again, if you see it and you see an acquisition with some cash and with some equity, understand that I'm first in line to be diluted, and I take it seriously. I'm in this with you, with all of you shareholders, and I am doing everything I can to maximize our value. We're perfectly aligned. I'm completely aligned with every shareholder. So I am really looking at what do the next 3 to 5 years look like, and when we do this, we do it very thoughtfully. And like I said, when we did the zone, when we issued that shares, we looked at it. We said, well, look at all the revenue it's going to bring. Look at the opportunity to move our technology, replace their technology with what we have. Look at this data asset that hasn't even been valued. I mean, look at those things. Okay, I'll dilute a small percentage to have all of these upside benefits. And so I want people to know that. I want people to understand that I'm there with you. I look at every one of these things. I'm not excited about dilution, but I am excited about the opportunities. And sometimes we need to bring additional investors under the hat and use some of that cash capital to get us to that next level. And I'm going to do it with debt. I'll do it with equity as well. But no, it's just being done very thoughtfully.
Sure. Well, that's a good answer, because when assets purchased are accretive in terms of value performance per share, it is a worthwhile thing to suffer some dilution. So that is some comfort. You mentioned earlier that you were expecting triple-digit growth year on year from 21 to 22. And so that implies that you're going to continue this double-digit quarter-on-quarter growth throughout 2022, which would make you, like, for 2 years running, essentially double-digit quarter-on-quarter growth, which from the perspective of a wealth manager is like Pavlov's dogs. It's the best music to the ears you could have. So the question I have is, where are you going to start segmenting out where your revenue is coming from each division? Because great that you've got this buildup, but it's very hard to discern from the financials which department is sort of carrying the load, or is it a case where they're all carrying an equal share and so it's really not that relevant?
Well, that's how it's been. And that's really how it's been. It's been really that each of those divisions have been carrying that load fairly equally. So it hasn't been as relevant. For 2023, we have a number of initiatives. And I wish there was one division I could say, hey, this is where it's all going to happen, and guess what? We'll focus in on it, we'll break it out. We have three really unique opportunities. We have a unique opportunity in our title technology world that's very unique, and that could subsume and even expand further on our revenue next year, become a larger piece. We have the tax technology. Gary, he's already rolled it out in the provinces of Canada. He has worked with his acquisition of Apex. We have relationships with 22 out of 3,300 counties. So that tax product and flipping it to a consumer product for fairness, it's 140 million homeowners. If you just get 10% of them and you charge $20, all of a sudden you have 180 million. And I'm telling you, in 2022 or 2023, we doubled our revenue again, even over our expectations. So it's going to be interesting to see how that technology, how the alternative technology, and how what is now the Voxtur valuation technology component, how the Voxtur valuation technology takes flight. And should one of those predominate independently, then expect those to be broken out independently. And there'll be a larger and larger share of the revenue going forward. Some of that DAS, that data as currency, data as a service that Voxtur has, which has very high margins. Those are what I call the Adobe aggregate. People have heard me say that. It's the 80+% margin, gold standard. That's going to start to proliferate, and you'll see margins continue to increase along those lines. So that's what I think people should be looking for. And as it makes sense, we'll pivot. And I'll be here on your show to talk to you about the pivot, to drive people so that they can see that.
You bet. Jim, that's a great update. We're going to leave it there for now. Thanks very much for your time today. I'll look forward to talking to you again in 2022. Have a great day.
Love it. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye for now. So as you can see, execution is
trying to,
what it's all about.
Look, they're delivering, and if the numbers keep going up, this company will get taken out.
This reminds me of an interesting scenario. We're talking about execution, and you talk about a management team executing. That's a good thing. Getting your head chopped off by a guillotine, that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. And so this is a case where a word can have different implications for in the same universe at the same time, depending on which side of the equation you're sitting on.
I've got a word that does that exactly.
Is this epistemological conundrum?
The word raise can mean to raise something up, but R-A-Z-E means to...
Well, that's actually a different spelling of that word.
Yes, but it's pronounced the same.
It's pronounced the same. So what is that, a synonym?
No, it may be an homonym.
An homonym?
Maybe.
Like a homonym? Does that begin with an H or an O?
Well, you know what? Being close to Christmas, I thought, ho, ho, ho.
Oh, good one.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's why Voxtur is on a roll. And here's the thing. This is why I have been. So we've never taken a dollar off of Voxtur. We strictly signed on as their marketing partners for an option on a share price that hasn't been hit since we signed on back in March of this year. We are happy to do so because they are executing. And that's why when I say I disclose that we're not to be trusted because I'm conflicted. But are we really conflicted when we're putting all our effort forth at our own expense based on a future potential upside?
You have an agenda.
This is where we became involved. The stock was trading at $1.17. That's the day right there.
Okay.
And I actually bought 100,000 shares in the market. I've sold some. I've bought some. I've sold some. And now we still have this big option, which will be fully vested by January 17th. This company has over 400 million shares outstanding, which is why people would say, well, if it's such a great financial statement, why is it only up to $1.07 from 90 cents?
Well, it's kept at $500 million.
$500 million, exactly.
Not quite, but close, right?
Well, but more than $500 million fully diluted.
Okay.
More than fully. Okay. Yeah. So anyways, but we expect great things from Voxtur Analytics. I know this because obviously I'm dealing with the company and management all the time. Our next guest, however, is a partner to our client, NuRAN Wireless Inc., trades under the symbol NUR. And NuRAN is building wireless towers throughout sub-Saharan Africa, particularly focused right now on the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Cameroon. And so far, they've got over 10 sites up and running, and they do that with this partner, which is SpaceCom, an Israel-based operator of satellites, and they have an exclusive arrangement with SpaceCom to provide satellite linkage to their towers throughout Cameroon and the DRC. Ofer Asif is here to tell us about that partnership, and it's quite interesting. I'll let him do the talking. My next guest is Ofer Asif. He is the Senior Vice President of Business Development, Marketing, and Strategy with Space Communication Limited, SpaceCom, better known as, trades in Tel Aviv under the symbol SCC. Ofer, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Ofer, let's start. Can you give me an overview? What is the business of SpaceCom?
Sure. SpaceCom has been around for the last, 3 decades or so. Started as a satellite operator, managing and basically did from design to the operation and service customer on our satellite fleet, which is called the AMOS fleet. Today, we are more grew to be a service provider based on satellite communication satellite provider, and we basically serve and provide service to B2B and B2G customers in EMEA region, Asia, and Middle East.
All right. So then, as a satellite internet communications provider, what kind of footprint do you have? What countries do you serve? How big is your subscriber base?
Right. So we serve, as I say, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia, parts of Asia. We provide services in communication and broadcast and broadband type of services. Today we operate it through 4 satellites, which are actually active and operational. Our latest one is the AMOS 17, which is one of the most advanced over Africa. And so a lot of our efforts lately go into that region, into Africa.
Sure. So you recently entered a partnership with NuRAN Wireless, a Canadian trading company who's our client. And so there's a strategic partnership, and you also made an investment in NuRAN. How does that relationship benefit either you or NuRAN?
Okay, so, strategically, SpaceCom is looking into expanding the boundaries and looking for innovation and new technologies that will be, that will work well with our offering and and work coherent, and we complementary to the offering to the end customer. And we do so both internally through, dealing with internal innovation and absorbing technologies, but also through strategic partnerships and investments. NuRAN is an interesting case for such an investment. So NuRAN have evolved quite dramatically from an equipment provider to a service provider, which is basically NAS, a network as a service provider, to the MNO segment, to the telco segments, which our MO 17 satellite is specifically designed for. So it is a very complementary solution in terms of we are bringing the capacities and the management of the satellite communication or connectivity, while NuRAN and their new innovative and I would say most cost-effective solution would go into the most deepest rural and be the long arm of the MNO, and with the new model that they have, that they actually do their business is of that they're placing all the infrastructure and do partnership as well with the MNOs. Is for us, it's very interesting. So we kind of established a strategic partnership where we are actually, if you look at the two solutions combined together, we are serving an ecosystem by our own.
Very interesting. So then currently your agreement contemplates Cameroon and the DRC. Do you envision a global application for this partnership?
Absolutely. So the current partnership that we have is a global one. We did a strategic partnership here, and this is also why we made the investment in the company. We have very good relations with the management and with the team, and we think that this is a strategic investment because we are not looking just on DRC and Cameroon. We're looking at expanding these mutual services together in all of Africa and beyond.
So from a competitive landscape perspective, does the partnership with SpaceCom and between SpaceCom and NuRAN, are there other sort of competing bodies like that for distribution of broadband internet in sub-Saharan Africa?
So if you look at bits and bytes, there are different competition elements, but I think that if you look at it from a solution perspective, a full solution and offering to a customer, to working with an MNO or a mobile operator as we call, there's not a lot of competition for the full solution. There is one that I can think of which involves one of our competitors, which is Intelsat, and which is AMN, that's the name. But I think overall, it's an evolving market. I think it's growing, and the need for connecting people, the people that are not yet connected and need to be part of the whole digital era, and being able to absorb services, even the most basic ones, will drive the growth in this segment.
So then, is there a lot of investment interest in bringing broadband connectivity to rural Africa on economic grounds?
Yeah, I think if you look, you can look at it both from 30,000 feet and go down. When you look at it, the whole ecosystem, there's no doubt that people need connectivity and need to be connected. As the decades go by and every years go by, there are more and more services that are vital services for our lives that depend on connectivity and basically on power as well. So the ability to generate connectivity and power together, which is something that NuRAN does very well, I think it's a base for growth. Now, when you look at it from bottom up, you see a lot of rural or semi-rural communities which are not connected at all. And they are not a part of the play. And I think that, first of all, there is a big strategic importance for each country to make connectivity and power available in these communities, because then they will be able to generate growth. And there is a strong relations between growth and prosperity and GDP to connectivity if you look at other locations. since it generates economic activity, education, ability to interact with others, etc. So I think there is a very big potential here.
Sure. What would you say is the potential dollar value of the sort of addressable market worldwide?
So I'm not sure about the worldwide potential because I haven't looked at the full world. But if you look at, for example, Africa, you see that most of the continent is very young, and half of it is rural. So, you do the math. Now you're talking about probably 10 to hundreds of millions of dollars that you can get out of it. And if you take into consideration that with time, they will need more and more bandwidth, then you're looking at exponential growth there. So, I believe that the potential is huge.
Sure. Who do you see as the biggest target customer market?
You mean in terms of NuRAN with us together?
Yes.
I think that the market itself, or the most eminent ones, are the mobile operators, which, they are concentrating on one hand on their largest ARPU, on the largest dollar per customer, which is usually in the urban locations. So they invest a lot there, and all of the infrastructure and efforts are there. But they want to, to increase their coverage and gain more subscribers. And I think that the model of NuRAN is actually a winning model where they don't need to invest a lot in order to reach these subscribers, and everybody can enjoy from it. So I think the most eminent ones are actually the mobile operators in Africa.
Sure. Ofer, we're going to leave it there for now. I really appreciate your participation today, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So obviously, you listen to that and you look at this chart, stock's trading down to $1.10 today. And you say to yourself, well, why is the stock trading down if it's such good news?
Well, maybe we talked about that earlier, that the real market is down 25% in the States. So why should other companies be bubbly right now? Maybe.
Exactly. And honestly, when you have a company that is building all this value, doing deals with big companies like, they've got this deal with SpaceCom, they've got the deal with Orange,
right,
which is a $32 billion company globally in the wireless space. They're building towers, they're beating their subscriber estimates. So that suggests to me that regardless of...
They're executing.
They're executing on their business plan again.
There's all kinds of execution going on here today.
Would you say that this show is about execution?
Execution. We're executing right now. We're executing the show.
We are executing the show. You're a good point there, Ed.
Yeah.
So yes, there's our housekeeping portion of our program out of the way. Our sponsors have been duly identified. Our conflicts have been revealed, disclosed. We have overshared. And now what do you want to talk about, Edward?
And there's the price of copper hanging in,
Price of copper. Well, let's pull up that chart. Here we go.
433, I think.
432 last we looked. This is the chart from last week. And yeah, a little bit of weakness in there yesterday, but now bouncing back.
Yeah, well, we're still again. There's that downward trend that was penetrated. Now we're moving. Execution.
That's a different week. We'll talk about penetration another week.
Yeah.
So while we're on commodities, let's take a look at this lumber chart, just because I want to be more depressed than I already am. This is 1 year ago today. Touched this high of 1740, call it.
Wow.
Lumber prices in the retail space peaked out around here. There's still, you can still buy lumber at these prices in the retail space, but
that's gonna,
not for too long, I'll bet.
It'll start tightening.
Yeah,
you watch. Yeah.
And really, if I was smart, I would just go
the other thing that came out today that was fascinating was the I think it's these payroll claims or the
payroll deductions.
Every Thursday they come up with this number about people looking for assistance or something like that, and the higher the number, the worse it is. It was the lowest number in 52 years.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Weekly jobless claims fall to 184,000, the lowest level in more than 52 years.
Yeah. Wait, is there an echo in here?
Jesus.
But I mean, so these are the things that, look, if this is going on, but
Right.
maybe companies can't make as much money with rising commodity prices, rising wages, blah, blah, blah.
Payroll, jobless claims are meaningless. Jobless claims are such a fudged number because in the employment reporting scheme of the United States, there are 7 categories of employment. And if you don't fall into only 1 or 2 of those categories, you don't even get counted. If you've been looking for a job for over 2 years and haven't found one, you're not considered unemployed. You don't exist. And that is utterly insane. So that's why this great economic number here revealed today.
Yes.
Let's see, what does that do for the broader stock market? Well, interest rates go up. S&P is down 17 points. Dow Jones is up a measly 63. It's been up and down all day. And NASDAQ is down 142.
Well, put up a NASDAQ chart.
Here you go. There's a NASDAQ 100. How about far back you want to go?
Let's go back.
How about a year? There you go.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to point out is,
there you go.
We've got that high that we talked about a month ago.
Right here.
Yeah, right there. And now that trend line has been violated very significantly with that big drop.
Yeah.
And now we're getting a snapback, but it looks like, it may have trouble going from here.
Well, I mean, in the macro picture, macro time frame, the long-term trend is intact, despite this dip. Would you not agree?
There's definitely, the only trend that's been violated is
if you go in here.
Well,
because now that trend has been reversed.
And then you got this resistance here.
Yeah.
I think you got to watch that. It's been hit.
It's been hit.
Not penetrated.
Not penetrated, not executed. No. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, but
Okay, so we've talked about the NASDAQ, but look.
Okay, here's a topic I wanted to broach. So this company, TC Energy, trades under the symbol TRP. TC Energy is the owner of the Coastal GasLink pipeline, currently being rammed through the unceded territory of the Wet'suwet'en, however you pronounce that. Sorry, guys, if I got that wrong. Unceded territory of the Wet'suwet'en. RCMP in there with assault rifles, pointing them at those.
Where?
Alberta!
Oh, is this on indigenous
land, First Nations? Yeah. So it's starting to be a thing. BNN actually had one of the First Nations spokespeople on yesterday from the Wet'suwet'en Nation. I apologize if I'm getting that wrong. Wet'suwet'en Nation. It's not Wet'suwet'en. It's Wet'suwet'en. Ah, gosh. The First Nations, people of Alberta. And here's my question, Ed. This chart, this is TC Energy. They are the operators of the pipeline.
I need to see more time here. More time.
Well, it's not really relevant.
Well, yeah, it is. I want to see what.
This is where the protests began.
There you go. That's relevant. That tells you something.
So there is increasing skepticism on the part of investors that this is going to get built. KKR, Kravis, Kohlberg, and Roberts. So now these guys are they put in $600 million into this. Or shoot, do I have those numbers right? They put in a big number to own 65% of the pipeline. So now TC Energy is saying, hey, you can't come at us because we're a minority holder. We're just operating on behalf of this larger investor. You don't like it, go after them. This chart action shows that this tactic is not being bought by the broader market. Now, important to know that major shareholders in TRP include the companies in Asia that bought. So all 5 major Canadian banks, the RCMP retirement fund, pension fund, is a shareholder. All 5 Canadian banks are major investors. And, here we are in 2021 in the era of truth and reconciliation with First Nations in Canada, according to our Prime Minister. Yet, here we are just very overtly ignoring the spirit of truth and reconciliation and allowing this company to build pipelines because we have a financial interest. I say we, representing the white man colonizer. Now, here's my problem, Ed. are we saying to the First Nations that, hey, this is all just lip service and we can't be trusted? Or are we saying, fuck you, we conquered you, and we don't really mean what we say? If it's B, then why the hell are we beating around the bush and pretending not to say that? Why don't we just come out and say, look, we conquered your asses fair and square. But that was not the case. We came to a treaty agreement to suspend hostilities way back in the 1700s, 1770s, some odd, and then we reneged on that. And this is what we're doing now. So, bottom line here is TC Energy a good short because they're going to get their asses handed to them? Or is this just a glitch in the machine and First Nations don't have a hope in hell because everybody knows in reality there is no truth, there is no reconciliation, and there is no observation of the treaties?
There's an expression, things seldom are what they appear to be. It looks...
That sounds like a white man's like...
No, but it looks like this is happening, but what's really happening? What's really happening when governments spend billions of dollars on wind energy? Well, money's being made by a very few people that are friendly to the government.
Right.
But it's always about the energy.
So this is the thing, though. As a Canadian, do you think that we owe the respect to the First Nations as Canadians? Or do we owe our allegiance to the banks and the gas companies because we are gas consumers? Which would you say? Time to take a stand, Edward. Draw a line in the sand. Get off the fence.
I don't like to
stand up next to that guillotine.
I'm a Libra.
You're a Libra.
Libra of scales.
Conciliatory.
Balance.
So, justice. Okay, I'm a Sagittarius. And because my interests are aligned with First Nations in that I don't want more pipelines, I don't want more natural gas being loaded into LNG containers off the coastline. Yes, it's going to cost jobs, but everybody is capable of doing other things. I know this because I've been doing different things my whole life. So I think we owe it to the First Nations and we owe it to future generations of Canada to say what we mean and do what we say.
The level of, I don't want to say hostility, but the level of...
I think it's about to explode. Remember the Mohawks in Oka? Oka. That's where we're going with this.
Big crossword puzzle.
Because all of the First Nations are aligned. They're all starting to do blockades across the country.
Something similar, a little bit different. In Peru, a decision was made this week that
MMG, the owners and operators of Las Bambas, a Chinese company, decided to shut down the mine.
2%
of global copper supply.
And they're saying we're going to scuttle this thing because the locals
have blocked the roads.
They want too much.
Well, and they blocked the road. Do you know that mine has been shut in for 400 days now?
Yeah, 400 days of the last 3 years.
So the Chinese have switched tactics and said, you know what? Okay, fine. We're not going to mine this anymore. We're shutting her down.
What's that going to do for the price of copper eventually?
Nothing really, because copper prices are manipulated by the bankers in New York and London in the futures market, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory, some say. Crime in progress, others say. Anyways, how's that for put that in your peace pipe and smoke it, Canadians?
So you think there's going to be some problems here in the old Alberta wilderness? Because
the federal government is supporting the gas company because of their financial interest and for no other reason. Wow! They are broadcasting to Canadians that we are observing a period of truth and reconciliation.
You just wonder how this
They're hypocrizing themselves.
But you're saying this is starting to come out more.
Well, they're causing Canadians to be embarrassed to be Canadian. It's like if you're going to observe the treaties, observe the treaties. If you're going to violate the treaties, don't tell everybody you're going to observe the treaties and then pull this low-down scumbag maneuver of violating the treaties. The same thing happened. I live on a piece of land that was sold by the Haudenosaunee Nation to white settlers, a descendant of which I bought this property from. They were granted 6 miles on the other side of the Grand River in exchange for their assistance to the British in defeating the Americans. Then the Indians turn around and say, well, great, we'll sell some of this land back to the white man because we need some chicken. We need some coin. The white man stiffs them, and here we are 200 years later, and this land has not only been stolen from them, it has been stolen from them twice, and this is why this is technically the unceded territory of the Haudenosaunee now. So now I'm living on a piece of land that a bunch of guys 200 years ago stiffed the local First Nations for. And it's like, so how secure is my tenure? Is my government not liable for the actions of people that they didn't resolve the situation 200 years ago? And this is why, to me, it's like I'm throwing in with the Haudasani and the wet sweatin', and it's like, fuck the banks, fuck the oil companies, and you watch. They're going to rake me over the coals.
There's going to be, I think, a lot of communities saying to corporations, because of the inequity between the haves and the have-nots, maybe this is just the tip of the iceberg, what's happening in Peru.
Yeah.
And here, maybe, something like this is going to happen. Like it could put production, it could cause a bit of a dark period for the earth.
Well, so here's the other side of things, is you have to say, well, if you're a consumer of gas, natural gas, you really don't have a moral leg to stand on in protesting additional gas capacity because you're driving the demand for it. So where do you get off saying stop this if you're a gas consumer? And I have natural gas. I have soup on the stove right now powered by natural gas. All right, that's the political activism portion of our show over with.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a political activist portion of every show from now on.
Just.
Oh, by the way, before we move on, audience, I want you to write to me as a Canadian. I don't really care about Americans on this. I want to hear from the Canadians. What do you think? Do we have a duty as Canadians to observe the treaties entered into by our forefathers? Does our federal government have an obligation to them to follow through on what they're saying? Participation and observe the treaty. They get to say what happens on their land. None of this ramming it down their throat. You write to me, and we're going to take a poll. I'm going to make a poll. We're going to have a poll.
I'm a
right.
poll. I'm a poll.
You're a poll. You're Polsky O'Gorky. Anyways.
Okay. Well,
and let's see where that goes.
But you see, look at what's going on in Russia. We talk about Russia and the Ukraine. Now, isn't that a powder keg about to...
I don't know that much about it, honestly. I mean, I know that
I asked you a question earlier, and you went on for it's like you could have wrote a tome about it. You should have wrote a book.
I mean, I have some opinions about what I observe, but...
Oh, I see now where the word opine comes from. Opinion. I never knew that.
What?
Opinion. Think about it.
You're kidding me, right?
I swear I never made the connection. Well, opine. What the fuck's opine?
That's hilarious. I mean...
Opine Winfrey.
That is our show for this week.
Yeah, that's a show.
That's a show. The really big show. Anyways, we're going to leave it there. We're going to come back next week. I hope you join us. We'll be back with more guests. And don't forget to write us, jwest@midasletter.com if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Come and see us next week.
So long.